What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. What's up, dudes? This is me, and that's Ray's butt.
Juicy, isn't it?
Need some skinny jeans, bro. Are those skinny jeans or no?
No, well, yeah, but they've got some stretch in them. See?
Oh man, stretchy pants.
I'm just getting skinny under these jeans. I'm down 10 pounds from my New Year's Eve high of around 192. So I'm down to 81.6 or something like that.
Hell yeah, awesome.
So yeah, man.
Congrats, dude.
What's your weight like?
164.4 this morning. My goal is to get to 5% body, 5 to 6% body fat, and stay there for extended periods of time. I've been unsuccessful so far. I'll get there and then stay there for a week or whatever, and then fucking 4th of July will happen.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah. Seems like there's a 4th of July every week. But quick shout out to Jordan. Jordan and I just did an interview. Jordan Fisk, he lost 100 pounds and was super vulnerable in the interview. I will post it. I'm still trying to work out my camera situation, so I'm going to post the Zoom, which is not a favorable angle, but then I've got DSLR camera running too, but I'm still trying to figure that shit out. It's
so people can't tell you're 164 on the Zoom.
Exactly.
Maybe you want to put it on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. But what I liked most about Jordan's interview is that he's super transparent about everything, and did not try to made it simple enough to where it told the truth, but not so simple where it was so generic you couldn't get help from it. I can't stand when I ask people, "Oh, how do you accomplish this goal?" And they're like, "Well, you work hard." It's thanks, bro. Thank you. That was great.
A little more? Can I get a little more?
Yeah. Work hard. That's perfect. So Jordan was awesome. So I will post that sometime, hopefully this coming week or the week after. So as long as I can get the video down. That being said, today we are going over needs, especially defining your needs in a relationship. Yeah. I do have to say that one thing I appreciate about all of you guys and all of just my male friends is, I don't know, Ray, have you ever gotten into percentage wise, out of hanging out with your friends, your male friends, percentage wise, how many times do you think you got in a fight with your male friends?
How many of my male friends have I been in an argument with?
Oh, just think about amount of times you've hung out or amount of interactions, which at this point will be probably in the tens of thousands, with all of your friends.
It's few. We kind of bury it, right? Cram it down.
Yeah, I mean, so for
tolerate
me,
shit.
Yeah,
enable shit.
Yeah. For me, I would say I don't remember. I've never gotten in a fight with Matt. I don't think ever. Literally ever. I can't. Outside, funny enough, I kind of have a barbell approach. I assume a lot of guys do. It's I either fist fought my friends growing up, or we didn't fight. It was there was no in between. And I do appreciate that usually about the male relationship is that I think we have a certain tolerance level to not get distracted by bullshit. It's and even if you tease me, teasing is actually a good thing, but so I don't, how do I say this? I find that the exercise that we're going to go through today, I have found more useful in an intimate relationship. I have never really had to use it in a male to male relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But I think, so we're talking about needs today, gentlemen. I don't know if you can read that. Can you read that at all, Wes?
If you scoot the phone just another inch up, you can barely see it. See half the word. Yeah, exactly. That's perfect.
Okay. We're talking about needs today. And yes, this is helpful in the specific context of coming up with a one-pager of your needs, just like we have a vision board or a one-pager of our goals. Wes's original idea was this is like a one-page document that you could hand to someone at the beginning of an intimate or romantic relationship, saying, these are my needs. But Wes, it also is just an absolutely therapeutic and beneficial process for a guy to do to help him define his own needs for himself, to orient himself towards those needs. Just like a goal, a list of goals or a vision board is something you can share with people, sure, but it also is a North Star for you to help you orient your actions towards those goals. Correct?
Yes, exactly. 100%. Okay, so with that being said, I will show you guys this just in case it is valuable for you. And you'll think that I'm even more of a psycho than you probably already think that I am. So let me show you this. So when I told people, like quite literally, I've developed a list of needs and then I put it into, here you go. Let's see if I can share this. Okay. Where the hell is it? Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Okay. So this is what I use. It's not pretty. I eventually will pretty it up, but this is literally, man, this looks so simple, but I'm telling you, this took me 7 hours, if not a little bit more of development and like at least 20 pages of notes. And then I scaled it down and synthesized it into 2 pages. So this is, I don't know how deep you want me to go into this, but like,
well, what are we looking at? Define the document for us.
Okay. So if you see here, this is the pyramid that I created. And it's a very quick snapshot where I can look, especially if I'm getting a little chaotic or my emotions are getting a little chaotic or disoriented inside of an intimate relationship. I can quickly look at this pyramid and see it's like, okay, are my needs being met?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and where do we, now I do like the heat. I always like heat maps, like red, green, or yellow, just simple stoplight heat map to see like, okay, am I sufficiently secure or my needs being sufficiently met in those areas? So the bottom layer here, so attractive, trusted, family-oriented, emotionally stable. So
and that's the thickest part of the bottom of the pyramid, right?
Exactly.
The widest part.
Yep, exactly. So and it implies that like that these are the prerequisites. Like there's no, if we have a problem here, then nothing else above it really matters. Actually, hold on. So that's not true. So you see the circle right here where I have growth mindset? That to me is the number one most important thing. Like, does my partner have a growth mindset? Because that to me means that like, let's even say the whole pyramid is green, but the growth mindset is red. That to me is going to be a big red flag, because inevitably my assumption is we will encounter problems in the future that will require us both to have a growth mindset. And I know that I'm obsessed with growth. So if my partner does not have a growth mindset, then if I get 1% better every week and she doesn't, then there's no way we're going to be able to relate to each other 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 20 years down the road.
And for new members of the team, can you define growth mindset for us?
Yeah, it's actually pretty simple. It's a whole psychological thing, actual genre of study written by Carol Dweck. I think she wrote the book called Growth Mindset. But it's pretty self-explanatory. It's like, literally, do you have a fixed mindset, which is like, yeah, like my skills are my skills, my beliefs are my beliefs, and like, kind of is what it is, right? Like I don't have to put a physical analogy around it. It's like, yeah, I can't run up that mountain up there, like just is what it is. For a growth mindset instead is, yeah, I can't run up that mountain right now, but if I practice every day, I could, right? Like I don't have good relationship skills right now, but if I read these books, I will get better, right? So just the belief, honestly, that you can get better. That's it. And as simple as that sounds, like you have to look at your total landscape of beliefs and activities throughout the day and like really take check of your mental patterns. And that will tell you whether or not you have a growth mindset. And it's obviously categorical as well. You might have a growth mindset in sports, but not in relationships. And actually, I think men are notorious for not feeling like relationships can be worked on and therefore have a fixed mindset around it. Mm-hmm. So I'll stop there, Ray. Should I go
Okay.
any of this?
No, and so for the list that is below the pyramid, is
Yep.
that just expanding on the various words inside the pyramid?
Yep, exactly.
And can you just give us the title for each numbered item?
Yeah. Okay. So let's say going on the bottom of the pyramid, and I would highly recommend people consider this. So number one is attractive. Now, these are not in order, but they are in priority in terms of vertical alignment. So attractive, dude, I have tried to get around this in the past. Like, the rest of the pyramid could be spot on, but if the female's not attractive, I wish wasn't saying this out loud. I can't proceed with the relationship. And that might
you're not saying conventionally attractive. It's just attractive to you.
Yes, exactly.
Right? That doesn't mean she has to be white or she has to be black or she has to be tall or she has to be petite. That's just whatever you biologically find attractive.
Exactly. Like, biology is a real thing. I've tried to circumvent biology before, and it didn't work for me. In fact, it was a disaster. Maybe it works for other people, but it didn't work for me. So then the next one is, can she be trusted? The next one to that is family oriented. And the next one, and this is a big one, emotional stability.
And for each one of these categories, do you have the bullet points down below that kind of like goes into greater detail? Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome.
So
now, would you be willing to post this or some version of this or like on the Discord?
Hell yeah, totally.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so to help the dogs create their own pyramid infographic, we can direct them to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And I think it's a W at the end. And so, and we can post, or do you want to just Google that and you can post that? Right. So that just the first one is fantastic. So in order, those categories are, well, let's go from the bottom. Physiological. And so what are your most basic physiological needs? And they list air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. So from that category and those subcategories, you can go as granular as this, and I'm sure you do, Wes. Water. I want to drink at least 6 liters of water a day. Food. I want to eat as healthy as possible. Shelter. I want to have a home on the beach and a home in the mountains. Sleep. I require 8 hours of sleep a night, or else I'm a honey badger. Reproduction. I don't want to have any kids, or I want to have a big family. So that's your first category, physiological. Safety needs is up next. Personal security, employment, resources, health, and property. So from that category, you can go into subcategories. And this is a really easy skeleton to hang the meat of your needs list on, right? So I would think employment, I need to be with a spouse who is also working. Or one of the guys might say, I want my spouse to be a stay-at-home mom, right? And resources, health, property, you can go into the same thing.
Yep.
The next one up is love and belonging. And the subcategories for this category are friendship, intimacy, family, and sense of connection. And again, you can go into as much detail as you want in terms of, my needs with friendship are to be able to go out with my friends at least once a week on a guy's night out or something like that. Or intimacy, I want to have this many sexual contacts with you per week. You don't have to get that scientific, but like sexual intimacy is not as important to me as like romance. Like you could just go into it in whatever way you want. Esteem is the second highest category. That's respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, and freedom. I won't go into defining these anymore, but the top one, self-act. So it's interesting. As you go up the pyramid, there are fewer examples, right?
Yep.
Self-actualization is the top, and that is desire to become the most that you can be. So there's your growth mindset, and so so what can you tell us about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or how does that help you in this exercise?
Yeah, well, I would say the first thing is it gives you a framework to work from, and it's also like a very common framework that I think most men would desire. And just some are just like not, you can't argue with, like air, water, food, blah blah blah. But I think that the most important thing is to literally develop your own, and even if it's copying this, like if you believe it, you're like, oh yeah, those are all my needs. But dude, I can tell you, I went for literally decades without defining my needs. And the amount of frustration and unfairness that can build in a relationship is just nauseating.
Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
And it's not just, Wes, it's not just you went decades without telling your partners what your needs are. You probably went decades without understanding what your needs are, or 100%. Like, right?
100%.
Or for yourself even.
Yeah, because basically what happens is like you have, I would say, like, for practical purposes, you have multiple brains inside of your skull. Right. And like, so your reptilian brain is always going to be in competition with your human brain. So it, like, you will bounce around. I will bounce around fucking, I don't know, 100 times a day between what I need and then what I need. And here's what I mean, like between what my reptilian brain needs and what my human brain needs. But if I don't know what those, first of all, if I don't know I've got two brains inside my skull, and so there's some argument that you've got three, you've got the reptilian, mammalian, and then human. And again, that's just for practical purposes to know that.
Or the way I like to think about it is, God made our brain 100,000 years ago or whatever it is to help us navigate caves and the jungle. Right. Oh, yeah. And even though we now drive cars and fly in planes and work in skyscrapers, we still have the same biological brain. So like our environment and our wiring is constantly kind of competing for our attention.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So real quick through this pyramid, and hopefully this gives somebody, one of these guys, a framework to work from. Like, I use this to differentiate between whether or not I'm just being a little bitch and a brat, or if like one of my real needs are like actually not being met. So for instance, dude, like if I don't
right, like manners, sleep, like if she has bad manners,
yep, at
it, or the dish. Okay, Kaizen mentioned the dishwasher analogy. By the way, Kaizen, it's not an analogy; it's a war zone. Okay, like so, right? So like if the way she does the dishes annoys you, you can consult your needs list.
Yeah, like I'll go and, dude, I'm telling you, I might use this daily, right? Because how often I get annoyed by everything just because my personality trait, like I'm an INTP. I'm an INTP. So which means I'm highly analytical. So
you're such an INTP.
Yeah, my brain is always looking for a solution to fix. And I think to a large degree, most humans are. But for me and other people like me, it is on steroids. Mm-hmm. So my natural mindset is cynical or trying to find the bug in the process so that I can fix it. And that gives me a sense of relief. So if I just voiced all of my inner bitchiness all the time, I would have no friends and would have no partner.
You'd be an intolerable Karen.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly right, dude. So versus this, I can go back to my human brain. It forces me and says, okay, on my pyramid of needs, like, are they being met or are they not? Now, if I highlighted some of these, so let's just say, for instance, I've got all of these things, but two of the bottom, the fundamental things are off, then I know that has to be solved, like right now. If I've got trust issues, like that needs to be corrected now, right? If I feel there's emotional instability, that needs to be corrected now. So then I do think it is helpful to hit the Goldilocks zone of description for each of these. So that way you can go to your partner and say, hey, like if I just go to you, Ray, and let's say you and I are dating, and I say, Ray, I don't trust you. Well, that is a very overwhelming thing for you to hear. And like, it's like, what, you don't trust me with money? You don't trust me with,
like ordering drinks, or you don't trust me
exactly
when you leave the room.
Exactly.
Right.
So then I would recommend going through each of your categories. And again, guys, you feel free to copy mine if you want. Let's look at the area of trust. And Brene Brown has a phenomenal talk on this, on trust, where she breaks down trust. So then let's say in this particular example, like I could go to my partner and say, hey, I'm having some trust issues. Now notice my heat map is yellow. It's not red. And that's very important for me. Like, and hopefully to communicate to my future partner. It's like, this is not in the red zone yet, which shame on me if it's in the red zone and I haven't communicated when it was in yellow.
Right.
Now, from there, I highlight, okay, here are the things like number 1, reliability, number 2, accountability, number 3, vault, and number 4, non-judgment, when I highlight those things. And then so if you're not familiar with those are just look up Brene Brown's Braving Trust video. Braving is the acronym that she created. So it's like, hey, I'm having a little bit of trust issues here. And one of the categories is reliability. And reliability means like you do what you say, you do what you'll say you'll do. Never overpromise or not overpromising, so you're able to deliver on commitments and balance competing priorities. So the conversation with my partner might be something like, hey, and it's not you, it's just a pattern that's being done that I feel is being done, which is like a certain, at least an unhealthy percentage of the time, I feel like you're giving me your word and then you're breaking it. Can we work through that? Maybe my perception's wrong, but creating that space to talk through it. So in my opinion, I think that is much more fair to say to your partner than number 1, just something so vague. It's like, I'm just mad at you. Like, well, what does that mean? Like, where are you mad? Like, what's going on? Why are you feeling short? Oh, it's in the area of trust. Oh, okay. Like, what's the subcategory of trust that we're talking about here? Well, I don't feel like I can rely on you. I don't feel like the accountability is there. And a vault is like, when I feel like I tell you things, it feels like you tell other people, especially your parents or your sisters or your brothers, whatever, right? And then I feel like I'm also getting judged a lot, whatever those things are for you. So I'll pause there. Ray, any questions or comments on that stuff?
Well, let me think of like your one pager of needs, and we're using Maslow's hierarchy of needs to help us kind of like pinpoint them. It's a compass to help you navigate your emotions. If it's a deal breaker or non-negotiable, it's on this list of needs.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
So like, if I do this in my relationship, my wife does it, and I see it really obviously in couples that are in crisis or are breaking down and falling apart, like sniping, like a humorous observation where they point out the other is doing something wrong. And it's like, it's a joke, but it's also a passive aggressive attack. It's kind of like it's contempt wrapped in the clothing of a joke.
Yep.
Right. And so like, is my friend or is my partner just needling me and tickling me and like teasing me, or is it am I being injured by this behavior?
Yep.
And this document is something you could look to help you navigate those emotions.
100%. 100%. And dude, I'm telling you, so helpful for you, right? Like I found it more helpful for me than for my partner, right? Because then honestly, I think I could create a strong argument as to whether or not I should even bring up something if it's not on my list.
Right.
Because it's most likely it's just I'm underslept, I'm underfed, or I'm just annoyed with just fucking whatever, the office today or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And you run the risk of taking it out on them, on your romantic partner.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
And so, but your Wes, your list of needs shouldn't just be what you hate, right? It should also be what you want, correct?
Oh yeah, totally.
So can you give me an example of, you can pick just anything from your one pager of something that you want, like a positive rather than like a fireable offense?
Yeah. Let's see. So I'll show you here.
Like, for example, and I'm looking at a list, and I'll share this link, a list of like, what do I want? And there's questions like, what makes you happy? What are your values? What gives you a sense of purpose? What activities lead to flow? What would you want if there's no limits? What do you admire or get jealous of? What do you envision as the gestalt of your life? I might need your help with that one. And what are things you don't want? So give me some stuff like on the positive side of like.
Yeah. And you guys can see my screen, right?
We can't. I mean, I'm on my phone right now, so it's tiny. But when I look at it on the laptop later, it's going to be crystal clear.
Okay, because I can't see any of you guys. If one of the guys can make a comment, can you see my pyramid? Because I can't see.
I see both of us. I see both of us in little boxes in the corner, and then your screen is your document. So like we see
sweet.
your desktop.
Okay. Cool, perfect.
With your pornography preferences in the corner and all that stuff. Right? We see all that, right, boys? Okay.
100%. So Ray, what you're asking me about, I personally think is right here in the middle column. So like, for instance, I need a mind mate. I need an equal partner. I need a healthy life, someone who has a healthy lifestyle. I need someone who has a sense of humor. And then again, yes, if you like scroll down in that document, like you'll see that I've got descriptions of what all of those mean. Now, I don't have 3 paragraphs for each of those because again, it can become overwhelming and kind of impractical. But I've got enough bullet points where it's like, oh, okay, that's what I really need.
Well, if I were to ask you what makes you happy, can you answer that question based on, not just off the top of your head, but can you answer that question based on a list of your goals and a list of your needs?
Oh, dude, well, absolutely. But I subscribe to that statement of like happiness is progress. And so that's like an easy, like quick little one-liner. And then it's like, okay, if somebody forced me to say, well, what does progress mean? It would pretty much be in these areas.
And if I asked you, what are your values? Can you define those based on, if you're only looking at your list of needs and your list of goals?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I mean,
like the trust is in there.
Exactly. Right? Yep. Yep. Honestly, dude, like even like, and here's the thing. I personally look at relationships kind of like almost Christians. I was taught like Christians kind of look into relationships as God is the entity of the relationship. So like you have a triad, you have me, you have you, then at the top of the pyramid, you have God. Now, for me personally, my belief in a relationship is you have me, you have you at the bottom, 2 points of the triangle, and then at the tip of the triangle is what I call the third entity. And that third entity is just what you are trying to build with your partner.
The relationship.
Exactly. But like
there's you, there's her, and then there's the relationship.
Yep.
So like you can build her up, you can build yourself up, but it takes a different kind of work to build up the relationship as well.
Exactly.
Which is a Gottman kind of pillar, right?
Yeah, and for me, I literally believe personally that it's like approach it like you're building a business, like quite literally. Like that third entity is not just some vague like, oh yeah, we're building a life together. It's like, what does that mean? Like what
are our duties?
Project exactly on a project by project basis. Like if you had to put that third entity there and build that relationship business, now all of a sudden we can stop focusing so much on ourselves and whether or not we're making each other happy, as opposed to we can work on that third entity almost as if we're playing a sport together. And as long as we're enjoying the journey together, we can appreciate each other's skills and lack of skills, right? No different than like a basketball team. Like Shaq is not supposed to be Kobe and Kobe's not supposed to be Shaq. So that at least for me gave me a deep appreciation for having a relationship.
And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking this list from this website of like the questions, and I'm thinking we should be able to answer those with only our list of goals and our list of needs. Like the answers should be obvious within those 2 documents.
Yes.
Right? Like if you were in a terrible car accident and you were in a vegetative state and all they found was these 2 documents on your body, they'd know exactly who they were dealing with.
Yeah.
Right.
And if it's okay, let me jump to someone asked a question. I think it was Dakota. I read it earlier. And he said, when does something go on the heat map? When does it go from green to yellow to red? Do you mind if I riff on that real quick?
Go. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll show you guys this. Almost all of my documents start with an origin of Excel or end up in Excel. And it's extremely helpful for me. So hopefully this will help you guys too. Okay. So, Ray, can you see this, pal?
100%.
Okay. So here are the same categories, right? Like attractiveness, growth mindset, trust, emotional stability, mind mate, blah, blah, all the stuff that you just saw in that pyramid. Then the need is here, right? So let's just say this is the attractiveness category, and these are the sub needs inside of that overall need. And the one cool thing that,
like, because I can't read them, give me a couple of those subcategories.
yep. So for instance, let's say attractiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Like one is general hygiene. The next one is, teeth, are they white and straight? Dress, appearance, physically fit and committed to staying fit, sexy and seductive.
Okay.
So the cool thing for me is when I believe
list and very subjective.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. And you kind of cut out earlier. Would you say in the beginning of that?
Not a controversial list.
No.
And with the exception of maybe the teeth, like the teeth would be the only kind of like conventional beauty kind of like attribute. The rest are very subjective as to what you find. So you're not automatically excluding anybody in particular, because everyone reads differently to each of us, right?
Well, yeah. And also what I like about my personal list is like a lot of these, it just requires a verb. It's like you can pretty much do all of these, So now with that, it's the next column over is what has been the lowest point in a relationship. Say if you've just been dating somebody and you can evaluate the historical data. Okay, where's the lowest I've felt my needs met in this category, and where are we today? So that can illustrate progress.
And
so
the
bars they look like the Vietnam vet. Not medals, but whatever, like the distinctions that they have on their uniform. But so maybe you're looking for a woman who served in Vietnam. But so these two colored categories, are they two partners that you previously had?
No. Okay. So this is current.
So I look like the red, and it really blows up in red and yellow in the middle of the page there.
Yep, exactly. So if you've been dating somebody for a while, it's like, where were we historically? Like, what's the lowest point we've been? And then where are we today? And this helps me. Like, I've used this one time in a relationship, like because I just developed this in my last relationship. And it's like, okay, here's the lowest point that we've been for my needs, and here's where we are today. So and then I scored it at the bottom. Like, we were at 61%, and then now we're at an 80, which is phenomenal. Now, the reason for the heat map is very important because I use a scholastic sort of measuring system here. And this is important for my psychology as well. An A is not 100%, right? Like in school, you can get an A and what is it, like a 93 or 94% and above? So there's room for error. So it does not have to be perfect. And what I would suggest if the dogs want to take this, and use an example, like an exercise like this, don't make your heat map so precise where it's like it has to be perfect to be green. Maybe a green, maybe a green, if you see here actually, 80% and above is a green for me. Like all I'm trying to do is get an 80%.
Example of teeth, white and straight. It doesn't have to be a Crest commercial, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It just have to be 80%.
Yep.
So they need to have 80% of their teeth. And if they have 80% of their teeth that are white and straight, it doesn't matter if there's a door open in the front.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly right. So that helps me. And then this last column G here, is concrete examples of what I need in this category. Now, I did have this written out. In fact, I do have this written out, but out of respect for my last relationship, I didn't want to put actual, do you know what I mean? So I cleared that out.
Yeah, disclosures, yeah.
Yeah. And then also I built another spreadsheet on top of this, which shows what she could do to increase the score and also what I could do to increase the score.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tried to assume that I needed to do something first. So for instance, like
a leader, that's what a leader does.
Exactly. 100%. But dude, I'm telling you, that might look tedious to people. But when I got done that fucking project, it felt like there was a before that project and an after that project. Like, why did I not do this when I was 15 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Man, it gave me a steady trigger finger to go and have the conversation with my prior relationship and say, hey, like, first of all, I apologize. I was like, I am so sorry that I've never done the work for this and therefore can never articulate fully to you because it was not articulated to myself. I didn't have an inner monologue before I could give you a proper dialogue about what my needs are. So I'm deeply apologetic about that. Also, we need to have a real discussion. And I don't want you to see this as overwhelming. In fact, I want you to see it as the opposite. This is actually extremely empowering because what I have on here is so precise, and we can actually do the legwork together, and I will take the lead. I'll do it first if you could follow me up on this. And then please, can you do your own document? And then that's the work we can do right now on the entity. Yeah, dude, empowering. It was awesome.
Empowering. Knowledge is power.
Yep.
And so I was thinking of this, you know, when I said this is a compass to help you navigate your emotions. I think that like the kind of the core, at like the burning hot magma core of Rhomas is giving men tools to help them navigate their emotions, the world,
yep,
their relationships, their work, right? Their bodies.
100%. 100%.
And so Ray, it's empowering. Exactly.
What, if you can, give us an example. And if any of the dudes are dealing with any relationship stuff or like want to hop on, please, or have anything, you know, to add to this, please feel free. Just let us know. What does any of this ring true for you? Or are there any needs that you're saying, oh shit, like, no, here's a big need that we should talk about that I have that's not on Wes's list. Like, just so the guys can have examples of.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, now I have not done this exercise yet, but this is why it was so urgent to me when you brought it up on Monday. It was so urgent to me that I wanted to get on with it and make my own list. But I'm thinking, it makes me think of like growing up in a big family and how that has informed my what I need and what I don't need out of a relationship. You know, Sarah, my wife, Sarah, she was in a blended family where the mom died and the dad remarried Sarah's mom, but she's an only child with her biological mom and dad. I'm one of 5, right? So we have very different definitions of what a family is, right? Now that we have one kid, to her, that's what a complete family looks like. And to me, that's just act 1.
Oh, right? Shit. Yeah, that's a big one. I've never thought about this. That's a huge one.
And so, so when I'm looking at physiological needs, air, water, food, shelters, sleep, clothing, reproduction, it makes me think of like my definition of a family is a big family, right? And so that is something, and that's something like we've talked about numerous times over the years, but like to be able to put it in a list, to be able to write it out, and to be able to put it in its right place in the hierarchy of needs really helps me to know myself, right? Absolutely. And to have a compass to navigate my emotions on this subject, right? And then, but like now that I've had one kid, and we can barely afford to send her to school, barely afford to keep her fed, barely, like the ballet, the horseback riding, the books, the French tutoring, the piano lessons. It's like, it makes me reevaluate. Like it makes me think about, is having a big family a deal breaker, or is it just how I was kind of programmed?
Yep.
Right. So like, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. So that's an example of what I'm thinking of. Right. And so that's something that you can put on your list of needs, and you can either have that conversation on your first date, or you can have that conversation after you guys move in together, or you can have that conversation before you're married, or you can have that conversation when you're thinking about having kids. Like you just said, you are empowered if you know what you want and know how to answer that question, rather than, like you just suggested, giving your girlfriend mixed messages because on one day you feel more like this and on the other day you feel more like that.
Yeah. And absent a doctrine, like absent some sort of, like you were saying, Ray, earlier this week, a constitution, then it's like, that's not fair to your partner and it's not fair to you. And Donovan's saying right here, he said in the chat, he's saying, in my previous relationship, it failed because I chose to suppress my inner monologue on what I was feeling. So it never reached the dialogue phase. Absolutely. And I would, Donovan, I would even push on you a little bit more. It's like probably your inner monologue. And dude, I'll say this for myself. Before I developed my needs and like really wrote them through, my monologue was like a toddler trying to speak words. It was no clearly defined sentences. It was like maybe you could hear a word or two because I'm just going off of limbic system desires. It's like, I'm frustrated right now. Like, why? Because she sucks, but then I'm not going to tell her that because I don't want to sound like a bitch. It's like, no, it's like, I need to develop my vernacular in that category. Then I would say, deliver that message to her, or even literally the next girl that I date, I will be bringing the document with me at some point. It's like, hey, like, here's my list of needs. Like, is this cool with you? That is well before a fight, well before some sort of like confrontation, well before it's just convenient for me to bring it up. It's like, here's my list of needs. Are you on board? And what are your list of needs? And am I willing to provide that?
Right. I'm looking at esteem, the green category, and I'm thinking like self-esteem is a big problem for me, right? Even though, like, I'm white, heterosexual, male, no disabilities, Christian, private school educated, university educated, law school educated, I still have terrible self-esteem. Maybe that's from being the middle child out of 5 and not getting enough, only getting 1/5 of my mother's love or my dad's attention. So whatever the reason is. So like, I need a partner who's going to support my self-esteem rather than like, so if I'm in a situation where that person is sniping or criticizing, even just like, constructive criticism, that doesn't land well with me. That will put me into a conspiracy of anger, So that is something, rather than blowing up when it happens the second or third time, that would be something helpful for me to let them know in advance. And it's helpful for me to understand about myself.
Absolutely. And dude, I have found that oftentimes specifics, especially with language, can help so much or hurt so much. Like oftentimes I have found it's like,
you always do so-and-so, you never do so-and-so.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes there's just like, I dated a girl and she said, dude, this is how specific it can get. It's like, all I want you to tell me is that you're in love with me. It's like, I've told you, I don't know, 1,000,000 times that I love you. She's like, no, you didn't say it. I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I want to know that you're in love with me. I was like, I told you that I love you. She's like, no, you're not saying it. I was like, what the fuck are you saying right now? And it was literally, though, I want to know that you are in love with me. And it's like, that is different for her than me saying, I love you. She needs to hear, I am in love with you. Now, I'm at a fork in the road there. I can either say, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard, right? Or I can say, hey, fair enough. That is the copywriting. That is the scripting that you need. So now it's on me to do the work to say that. Once I know her need, it's then my job as a partner to either make a decision. Either I do the work and I try, or I don't.
And you say, you're Moco, I'm out of here. Yeah, and it's, I don't know, it might be like, I mean, it might be a worrying kind of observation, but the first thing that comes to mind in my relationship is not the I love you, in love with you, but it's when I apologize for something, I never use I don't use the right words. So I'll sometimes hear, you don't really mean it, right? Or like, I need you to say, and like literally like a kind of like, like a printed out, like kind of like HR approved apology.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, and that's hard for me. Like, right. Cause
Totally.
like you said, it's like, okay, I can either just parrot these words so she'll shut the fuck up, or I can say, you can't read my mind. You don't know, like, how do you know I don't mean it? I just said I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And I can so I can really get confrontational with that. So, but hold on. So remind me, Wes, like if someone asks you to repeat the apology the way I like it, or someone says, no, say you're in love with me, relate that back to the list of needs and the one page of needs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, so if in that column that I have in the Excel spreadsheet, it's like, here are the patterns, right? So say concrete examples of what I need in this category. That's what I have in that final column. So it would literally be in, let's just say, for instance, let me pull this up real quick.
So like an apology, I'm thinking like maybe she really needs to feel heard, right? So rather than apologizing, like if there's an apology in order, maybe I need to sit down and let her explain how that made her feel or whatever.
Dude, and here's the thing. Funny enough, like you and I will look at our female counterparts and say like, what the fuck? You really need me to say this? Like that's, but I guarantee you and I have our own equivalent of it. Yeah,
of course.
Oh, we have our own equivalent. Like I have my own equivalent right here. So for instance, in trust, one of the components of trust for me is accountability. I got that from Brene Brown and her Braving acronym. Now the pattern is here's what I wrote. During hard times, I need my partner to fully take ownership without saying the word but. Like that's how specific it is for me. Don't fucking say the word but. Right? Like
Gottman says
variant of that.
Yeah, Gottman says that when you use the word but, B-U-T, everything that comes before that word is not true.
Exactly. They said it great in Game of Thrones. It's like anything that comes before the word but is not true, right? Like it's very, anything that becomes the word before but doesn't count. Like, and literally, and we all know that.
Yeah.
It is an out. It is like, and dude, I'm huge on agreements. It's like, I need your consent and you need my consent before we move forward. If we don't have consent, we're not moving forward. Now, exactly, 100%. So it's just a little micro contract after micro contract. And knowing that you're not going to you're only going to be successful on maybe half of them. That's probably being generous. But then there's a damage repair cycle that you can do. It's like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm not able to follow through. I can't go out tonight, right? I'm not able to follow through. And that's where I go off. It's like, dude, just admit that you failed or that you cannot meet the agreement, and don't tell me why it's my fault when it's clearly your fault, or when it's the environment.
Excuses. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Wes, I want to bring you out of your road rage and back into like the sense of happiness. Well, we talked about that happiness for you is progress, sense of purpose, and flow state. What's for you? So flow state, I want to define that for the gentleman. I was doing a guided meditation today for my 10-minute meditation for the scorecard.
Yeah.
And they quoted Joseph Campbell, the author on mythology and the hero's quest and all that. And he asks, what did you do as a child that created timelessness that made you forget time? There lies the myth to live by. So he's referring to that sense of flow where you're practicing your craft and you're enjoying it so much that you don't notice. Like, a really good movie, you don't notice that you've been there for an hour and a half. You're like, man, is it over already? Or like a really good meal, you can feel like, I feel this in restaurants for some reason, that time slows down and you can enjoy that delicious bite of food for what feels like an hour, even though it's just a quick little bite, right? Good art, I guess, does that too, where you're walking by it in an art gallery and it stops you and you're just drawn into this universe briefly. So for me, that's how I define the flow states. And so maybe in my list of needs, there should be like maybe self-actualization. Like I need, right? So like,
dude, that's actually really interesting.
I need to either in my goals or my needs, I need to define what puts me into a flow state.
Dude, that's actually a paradigm shifter for me. I never considered that. Like, especially within the dynamic of a relationship, like looking through the lens of how often am I/we able to get in flow state together? That's probably an interesting lens to look through.
I can hypothesize that dance puts you into a flow state.
Oh, absolutely.
And then maybe even working out at the gym, or like pursuing fitness puts you in a flow state, right? So like is dance on your list of goals or needs?
No, literally, you're blowing my mind right now. Like, I literally have to now consider that, like, flow state.
Almost all you ever talk about is dance, right? And it's probably most of your available time is dance. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and maybe you should think about. I need to think about, like, I know that and it's been like, I've pointed this out to you. This has been pointed out to me, and I've mentioned this before, where a friend of mine I can't remember if he was watching me through the glass of my art gallery, and he, the peep show that I work at, I don't know if those exist anymore. Like, he was looking at me through the glass of the art gallery, and I was talking about art with someone, and you could just see it from behind. And it was so clear to him that I was in my flow state, that I was doing exactly what I was meant to be doing, and so, or to put it another way, like the self-actualization part, which is the desire to become the most that you can be. So like that right? So like, I thought about it, and like, I also, you've heard me use the term spiritually fulfilled. Right. And so I think we can put flow state and spiritually fulfilled as interchangeable terms. Right. Because my work that I'm doing right now, as running an art gallery, yes, it's emails, yes, it's phone calls, but there's all that BS that everyone else has to do with it for most jobs. But there are there are undeniable times where I'm spiritually fulfilled by the work, where I'm in my flow state. If I bring an experienced artist to mentor and talk to a junior artist, and like, I want to give my input in the conversation, but I just stand back and let the magic happen, like that's, that happened recently, and I turned to my assistant and I'm like, isn't this the best job ever? But of course there's other times during the week where I look to her and I'm like, isn't this the worst job ever?
Yeah.
But so flow state and spiritually fulfilled, those are important to me. They might not be important to everyone, but like this,
dude, I think it's great.
Knowing this about my work, my chosen work, helps me carry on through the tedious parts.
A quick little gold nugget that I learned a week ago when I went to a conference. There was a mindfulness psychoanalyst there, and we ended up kind of having a tea together. And he said that the data shows that it's 20% of the time. If you feel fulfilled, like what you're defining as, Ray, fulfilled in the spiritual category or the passion category, 20% of the time. So just one out of the 5 days a week of work. If you feel like you're in your calling, he said that's the threshold at which like most people would define like following your passion. Does that make sense? Because you're not going to love it every single day.
Right. 80-20. So, that's interesting. It only takes 20%.
Yeah. That's what he says. Yeah.
It only takes 20% flow states to make you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that you feel spiritually fulfilled, that you feel like you have self-determination, that you feel like you're in community, you feel, right? Like I can draw in that other metric, that other infographic of self-determination with autonomy, competence, and community.
Yep, exactly.
Well, that's optimistic. That's an optimistic outlook that that can be achieved, right? So you don't have to say like, oh, I'm not happy all the time with this job, therefore I'm doing the wrong thing.
Exactly.
Right.
So I assume what they did there was talk to people who would say, yes, I'm super passionate about my career, and then say, okay, great, let's dissect that. How often do you feel super passionate about your career? And I assume that they came up with some sort of consensus is like, oh, it's actually just 1 out of the 5 days, or like, 1.5 to 2 hours a day. That's so much more attainable than every minute of every day I'm super passionate about my wife. Every day of every minute of every day I'm super passionate about my job. It's like, no, it's nothing's 100%. So where's that break even? Apparently it's 20%, which is pretty wild.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at Don is saying like his last partner couldn't see when she was making excuses. And that makes me think of, well, I agree with you, Don. It also makes me think of like we as men, as leaders, we need to be accountable first, right? So, and I'm not correcting Don. I'm just saying like it makes me think of, again, like we need to know when we're making excuses, right? Or we need to extinguish that need to make excuses in us and lead by example.
Yeah, and also, and Don, I can 100% empathize and relate. Like that's why I got a little heated about it earlier. Like this was a real thing for me in my last relationship. I can also say that then it's my job to give her to tell her exactly what I need, which I did tell her. It's like I literally need you to not say but, like, and I need and any variant of it, like own your shit, the fact that you did not do it, and then just stop. Just literally, if you just shut your mouth after that point, we'd be good. But as soon as you tell me something that's even resembles an excuse, I'm done. It almost makes it worse.
And it's like, and it's kind of a self-preservation technique, right?
100%.
Excuses. It's like you don't, right? Because she doesn't want her behavior to be fatal to the relationship, so she says, you know, on the other hand, but on the one hand, on the other hand, but you know, however.
Yeah. And Ray, to your point, to your example between you and your wife, it's very similar, right? Like, you know, Sarah's saying, I want to feel that you have remorse for this. And probably subconsciously it's so that I know in the future, right, you are less likely to commit the offense, right? Like somewhere in the subconscious, that's kind of the narrative. That's what it is for me. It's like, I need to know that you own the failure. So that way, next time we're climbing up the mountain, I can rely on you a little bit more because you know that this is a failure. Now, you might fail, but if you don't think you missed the shot, then it's like, where's the fucking lesson here? Right? Then we're going in with equal probability to the next time we encounter the situation. And it's like, I've got no additional confidence that you're going to be able to solve it.
It's on you to alert them that this behavior is a problem for you, rather than letting it kind of like fester and seethe.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. And I like how like with the goals and needs also comes along with it, your duties and responsibilities, right? To make them clear. Right. And not just have these goals and needs and keep them to yourself. Right. But you kind of have a duty to, and I like how you have with your colleagues and your employees at work, where you sit down and do a goals with them, because that, again, that just, I don't know how, but like that makes me think of, like, it makes me think of the freedom and duties, freedom and responsibilities kind of like balance, right? Where, like you want to know your needs and goals, and you want to be able to put people on notice that these are your needs and goals too, to let them either get out of the way or to be part of the journey with you.
Yeah. In my opinion, Ray, you were hitting on it. It is an obligation. Like hands down. If you don't take this on as an obligation, there is about zero chance outside of the honeymoon phase, zero chance your partner is going to meet your needs to a sufficient degree. There's about zero chance. Like, and you know this, right? And I know this. It's like, once you start going to couples counseling or reading about this kind of stuff, it's like, how the hell did we survive in a relationship prior?
Right.
It's like trying to build a
We were
build
talking, but we were not communicating.
No, exactly.
Right?
And until you go through those learnings, and whether it be like one-on-one sessions or reading books, you don't know what you don't know. So you're probably listening to Ray and I. It's like, well, I know I'm good. Like, I don't trust me. It's like trying to build a house with your hands. And it's like, oh, here's a screwdriver. You're like, oh shit. This screwdriver actually comes in handy a lot. And so does this hammer. Dude, if you don't have the tools, you're toast.
Tools, yeah. So like I said, like a compass to navigate your emotions, tools to navigate your emotions, tools to navigate the world. I think that's what we're doing here.
Absolutely.
And so, Wes, let's get those materials up on the Discord. I'll put up the link to the what do I want list. I'll put up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you can put up as much of your personal one pager as you want,
Yep.
do that. And because I really think the goals and needs are just absolutely core documents. Like these are foundational constitutional documents for Rhomas, for each one of the dogs.
Dude, that honestly, that gave me a huge paradigm shift. Both of those. So goals document and needs document, and then the flow state.
Like everything should be in there again.
Yep.
Like if you're in a terrible skiing accident, heli skiing or accident or whatever, they should be able to reconstruct your brain based on what's in these documents.
Yeah. Do you mind if I take a picture of that real quick?
I will post it.
Phenomenal.
I'll take a pic and I'll post it.
Phenomenal. Really is. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Thank you, dogs.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wes. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Brother. All right, dudes. Later.